just start out and asking each of you how you got involved with
When the rain don't fall, that's when you know you're gonna go dry. When the rain don't fall, that's when you know you're gonna go dry. And it won't do no good.
Welcome to Thinking Green. I'm Ronna. And you know, when I was going through my notes, I found some notes from a TV show from January of 2009 that said Fiddleheads first year. So I couldn't find the second or third, but coming up this weekend is a celebration of Fiddleheads' fourth year. So to celebrate that, I have two people who have been active in Fiddleheads, certainly for at least the last year or so. Mark Roberts and Janice Janostak. Janice, okay, I'll get it right by the end of the show. And we're going to talk about Fiddleheads. As usual, people can feel free to call in with questions, comments, whatever. So welcome to both of you. I don't know which one of you wants to start, but how did you get involved with Fiddleheads?
Well, I still have my membership card from 2008 when Fiddleheads was first starting up. My partner and I had been here for 10 years. We had been members in other co-ops across the country. And we sort of bided our time a little bit for almost a year. And then we said, yeah, let's join this. And then for the last, on and off, last year and a half, 2 years, but steadily the last year and a half, I've been a member, I've been a produce team associate. I write for the Fiddleheads Facebook page. I write the recipe blog on the new, very cool, totally updated website.
I was pretty impressed, actually. I went to it this afternoon.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
Really great.
Every department has its own page. People can contact the buyers, news and information. We can just update it ourselves. It's gorgeous. 21st century, finally.
And every Saturday when you go in, you're there.
Yes. Yes, I'm helping out at the 4 Mile River Farm booth serving up samples. Nunzio Corsino asked me if I would, and he said, I trust you to handle this, and it's been wonderful. It's been a lot of fun. I love interacting with people.
And you know, I think during the year of our first farmers market, winter farmers market at Fiddleheads, Nunzio was a guest on the show and talked about his pampered cows, cattle. Okay, what about you, Mark?
Well, I've only been active in New London for about 2 years, and only moved here this year. But I run the Tsitsi Gallery in downtown across from City Hall, so I'm here a lot. And I originally encountered Fiddleheads through a series of misunderstandings. I first thought it was one of those community-supported agriculture things, so you had to be a member in order to shop there, and I wasn't here often enough to be able to afford that. And then somebody said, oh, no, anybody can go in. So I started going in, and it's like, wow, this place carries really good food. And then I started seeing all the same people. And slowly I came to understand that Fiddleheads is not just really about food, but it's more about the community coming together to eat in a more healthy manner. And so all kinds of information and stuff is shared. And I was approached and asked if I'd be interested in being on the board, and interviewed with the president, Dick Virgin, who basically said, we're looking for people with strong business backgrounds, particularly at that time.
Right, because
2 years ago.
You know, co-ops tend to be started by people who don't have a strong business background. People who are into food, community, grassroots stuff, but usually not business.
Right, and I have a very strong business background. And so I joined, and it's been a lot of fun. I mean, since we started, we started doing more strategic looking things, like starting to meet with the farmers through a whole series of dinners just at the beginning of the season. And to the pleasant surprise of all of us, discovered, wow, we're a lot closer than we realized we were. You know, we're not so much store vendor as we're all trying to accomplish the same thing, which was the idea behind it. But it was way more successful than we ever guessed it would be.
Well, it is interesting that when Fiddleheads started, it started out as a winter farmers market because the storefront really wasn't ready to go as a storefront, but they wanted people to be coming in. And I don't know whose idea it was, but it was brilliant. The one thing I have to say to people, I can never run into the store to buy 2 items and leave. Not because, like in the big box stores, that you get lost in the aisles and you have to walk a mile and a half, but you mentioned how it builds community. You cannot go in there and either see someone that you haven't seen for a while who you want to catch up with, or meet someone you didn't know before, but you start up a conversation in the checkout line.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, what would you say have been the highlights of the last year?
Well, the biggest one was we crossed $1 million in sales, and we hired the first part-time employee, which is astounding to people in the co-op community.
We now have 6 employees, actually, yes.
Part-time, right, but the first one was hired just a year ago.
Yes.
Last year.
So over the last year, it's gone from all volunteer to having 6 part-time.
6 part-time people.
Right. We're still. I mean, it's this. We're hoping to have more. To have a core of paid employees and then volunteers helping out. The people who do work there, whether they're paid or not, do just tremendous job. Now the produce team associate Sue Guida says we pull off miracles, and we do. You had asked about one of the big deal things of the year. We expanded several of our departments, and unfortunately, a health food store in Mystic closed down. We purchased from them produce coolers, we purchased freezers, we purchased health and beauty shelving, stock. We have doubled the size and space of several of our departments, and we have more customers coming into us, and some of them were people on the other side of the bridge who hadn't come here before. Some are people right in town who just never stopped in before. And every Saturday when I'm in Fiddleheads, I'm getting more and more people saying to me, well, this is my first time, or this is my first time in a year. And they're
still getting that.
Oh, all the time. It's more and more and more every Saturday. And it's wonderful. And you sense they're going to come back. And that's what we really hope to accomplish.
Well, it's over the past 3 years, in the 4 years, but it's been 3 years of growth. Fiddleheads has almost exactly grown 100% month to month over the previous year. So this February was double last February, which was double the February before that, which is double the February before that. An unbelievably consistent track.
And it's so funny. I'm going to go off the subject a little bit, and it seems as though we're always trying on an official municipal level to attract the big employers, and yet it's places like Fiddleheads that are really growing.
Well, when you think about some of the big employers, like casinos who say we're growing or growing or growing, and then boom, something funny happens to the economy. Or you look down at some of the malls and that big box retailer, well, what happened to them? The story, I think, economically in the U.S., if I can go off, has been about big, grow. What we're doing is really rather old-fashioned. We're the only grocery store, for one thing, in downtown New London.
That's true.
In a town that used to have grocery stores, and it used to be a real livable, walkable town. I think we're part of making that happen again. And it's not just about growth. I mean, we've grown bigger than ever, and it can be very giddy. But we also are very interested in stability. And again, that's a very old-fashioned concept.
Yeah, we're not particularly trying to grow. We're more just trying to serve people as best we can, but it's kind of surprising how fast it's growing, and it doesn't seem to be particularly slowing down at all. So
I don't think it is.
And which presents its own challenges.
I saw some, a plea for help unloading a huge delivery, which, if you remember, you get these pleas every so often, and I'm guessing miracles pull it off every time, but it's a challenge.
It is a challenge. One of the first paid employees was Steve Markey, who's the produce manager, because produce was just growing exponentially. I was a buyer for a while, and the monthly budgets doubled in a year. And but it's a hard job. And that's one of the things about, working at Fiddleheads. If you're a volunteer, yes, it's work, and you have to love it, and we all do. But that was the sort of thing we went, you know what, we need somebody who's here all the time. We need somebody who's paid, and then the rest of us can supplement that. And I think it really makes us more aware of how much time and how much labor and how much work is necessary to run a grocery store.
We typically in a year have about 160 people who volunteer.
Wow.
And that's a very large number. Right. Because of that, though, it's allowed us to keep our prices relatively low for the incredibly high quality of the food. Mm-hmm. We're way under Whole Foods prices and the high quality organics.
Mm-hmm. Even like the supermarket organics, Fiddleheads prices tend to be very, very competitive.
Yes. Right, right. And it's much higher quality. But that's because it's run for the benefit of the members. That's what a co-op is. It's owned by the members, it's run for the members. There's no profit particularly. We just plow it back in.
Right.
But it keeps the prices down.
And we've seen so many news items about big businesses and how the CEOs are making billions, and the worker bees are they're not volunteers, but they're not really earning a living wage, and it seems as though a lot of those places aren't doing that well, really. Can you talk a little bit about the cooperative model of a business and how that might contribute to how it becomes more sustainable?
Well, sure. A co-op is one of the business alternatives to this sort of I don't know what to call it, but the brand of capitalism where one guy runs the whole thing and takes about 40% of all the money and then divvies up the rest among the employees. Some people think that model might be somewhat flawed.
If you're not the guy at the top, you'll inevitably think so.
Yeah, exactly. And that's resulted in the slow money movement or the local community movement. And a co-op I see as one of the key business mechanisms that allows something to be run for the benefit of somebody other than investors and the people who run it at the very top. And it allows us to sort of take our community economy back from being controlled from outside. And I see that as inevitably a key to sustainable communities.
And most people actually are already familiar with the cooperative model, even if they don't realize it, via your local credit union.
Right.
It is the exact same model.
Good point. And you notice these days, they're not particularly predatory.
Exactly.
No,
exactly.
And in fact, they're doing well because a lot of people are moving their money.
Set up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think maybe part of Fiddlehead's success is that people are moving their purchasing habits too.
Oh, absolutely.
I think so. For instance, I've noticed when I've gone to speaking of those grocery stores, and I've done the price comparisons and going, yeah, we're doing pretty good here. We don't have their buying power.
Right.
But our prices are in line, sometimes less. But I've noticed there was a trend for a little while at the big grocery stores, not to knock them, we all, go there, so and once in a while, where there was a lot of organics for a while. They were really touting organic, big signs. Lately, you go in those stores and it's a hunt and peck. You have to struggle to find organic. And I think maybe for them, there just wasn't enough business to justify it.
Right.
I like to think that people are coming to Fiddleheads and they're getting organic and they're getting local, which is something those stores don't offer.
No, hardly at all. Yeah, the cooperative stuff also is it's democracy in the workplace.
Right. It's run for the members. That's the whole concept. As opposed to run for the stockholders, which is kind of a joke, investors.
Yeah. Right.
And you mentioned something about the growth in the $1 million a year. I think a lot of people are buying more items on their grocery bills at Fiddleheads as opposed to the bulk somewhere else and just picking up a couple of items at Fiddleheads.
Well, as Fiddleheads has grown, we've been able to carry more and more and more of what everybody wants. In fact, we have a book right in the front where if we don't carry something you'd like, write it down and we'll try to see if we can get it.
Or we
On
have
the website.
The website, yes. And I have to
talk about the website.
First of all, we have to give a lot of kudos to one of our member volunteers, Ellen Kleinsmith, who set this up for us on a platform called Weebly, which is basically, it's very much like, Blogspot or whatever. We can run our own website. It's not paying somebody else and waiting for 6 months for something to be updated. I can go in, I can update the recipe blog. Every buyer can update their own page every day if they want. And each department has its own page, and each department has a box. You contact the buyer, you shoot it off, it goes straight to them. So if you don't want to come to the store, if you're not really sure it's going to get to them if you write it in a little black book and you have computer access, there you are. You can just contact them directly. It's been wonderful.
I noticed that everything is on, the volunteer schedule is on it,
Yes.
events are on it.
Yes.
Historical articles are
Every
on it.
single, you can a PDF of every single board meeting going back to '07 when they had like 2 a month or something like that. Past newsletters.
I remember those days. Now, what are the you've talked about the departments and how that's expanded. What departments are there? What can people specifically get?
Well, the lead two that drive the store are produce, which is no surprise. That's huge
Yeah.
in co-ops. But equal to produce is bulk purchases, which is lentils and beans and basically raw foods.
Right.
And they drive all the other departments.
And bulk is actually sort of broken down a little bit. We have 3 buyers now in bulk. Ellen Anthony, Dr. Bulk, is, the grains, the beans, the rice, the granolas, all that sort of thing, the
And
oils,
she's been
the
doing
vinegars.
that pretty much since day one, I
She's the one
think.
who
She
made it
has.
happen. She's the
Yes,
one who,
she is one of the, I would call the original founding members. When you think of the face of Fiddleheads, she's one of those faces
Yeah,
that you think
absolutely.
of.
Yeah, I think she was around the kitchen table.
And in fact, she's been,
Knows
She
what
was.
year.
yes, and in fact, she's become our newest paid employee. She was hired as bulk manager, which is
Yeah.
coordinator, which is wonderful. But you have that area. You have, she's also responsible now for like the coffee, the bulk coffee. You can grind it yourself. There's, Carol is responsible for bulk herbs and spices. Then we have bulk teas, and Frida is the newest buyer in that section. So we've got that. Haba,
Yep.
health and beauty
Health and
aids.
beauty
We've now
aids.
split off into supplements, and then more the beauty items. So we've got 2 buyers in that section.
and that's greatly
Well-
expanded in the last few months.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
In fact, the store kind of got
used to-
rearranged for it.
Well, it did.
Well,
Yeah.
again, we bought those shelves from another store and so forth. And with the Haba section, we bought a lot of their stock because that was something we specialized in, and ours was just very, very
Pretty minimal.
small.
But
So
now
that's
it's got
really
a full
grown,
stock
yes.
of homeopathics, and we used to have to go to either Old Saybrook or Mystic to be able to
Right.
pick that stuff
Right.
up. And now it's
Now we
great.
can do it right in New
Right.
Orleans.
Yeah, more and more.
We don't even have to leave the city.
Exactly. And then, of course, we've got the freezer section. We're getting more frozen meats, local meats, including the Four Mile River Farm's been there, but we're expanding more meat, fish, pork chops, lamb chops, you name it.
Yep.
Alan runs the fresh food. There's cheeses from Spain that he gets in that are just marvelous. Soy, tempeh. There's of course, all the stuff on the dry shelves, raw milk, beverages, and something we've done just very last 6 months or so. We now carry local, small craft, mostly craft beers, including organic beers, and that's very new to us, and I think that's doing quite well.
I think it is. I think my own family switched its buying habits on that. I wanted to, because you mentioned things like tempeh, and I think that there are a lot of people who have special dietary needs or personal dietary preferences.
Right.
What kind of things do you have? I noticed there's a gluten-free shelf, but
Right.
what other kinds of things do you do to accommodate different people's
Well, let me-
dietary stuff?
I've been a gluten-free person for years now, and Fiddleheads carries a much better quality of gluten-free products than I can find anywhere else. I mean, that drew me in right in the first place. And talking to Alan, who is our gourmand and foodie of the first order.
Yeah.
And when Alan says, well, have you tried this pizza? It's actually good. It's like, and it was. It was like, wow.
Whoa, yeah.
Usually it tastes like cardboard.
So they actually have gluten-free stuff that
That
tastes
tastes good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they carry the standard brands of gluten-free stuff that you'll find everywhere, but
But there are also baked goods
That's right.
that are
Oh, yeah.
gluten-free and
Yeah, and vegan, and I think, and one of the things about the store, just as with because sometimes people think, oh, do you have to be such and such to shop at? No, you don't. Doesn't matter. There's no, oh, what race are you? What religion are you? What's your affiliation? There's none of that. And there's something for everybody. There's also no, you don't walk in the door, are you vegan? Are you vegetarian? Are you this? Are you that? What's your mantra? What's your dogma?
Right.
There is no dogma.
Right.
It's, do you eat, whether you eat meat, whether you're vegan, whether you're raw and you eat, on a raw diet. The thing is that everybody shares is they want to eat better. They're becoming more informed, they want to know more, they're learning to appreciate, or they have learned to appreciate taste and quality, and instead of excess, we're learning to eat less and enjoy it more and at greater quality. And that joins all of us, no matter what your diet is, because we all have different needs.
Right, and there are some things that you won't get there, like
Twinkies.
GMOs, stuff with high, in general, there's a list on the website, things we try to minimize.
Exactly.
Right.
High fructose corn syrup,
Yeah.
like you
Trans
said.
fats, nothing.
Yeah,
but
trans fats.
Right.
Yeah, GMOs
nothing-
I noticed.
when you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some, they're not labeled, so you don't
Right.
really always know.
Right, and with anything like you're buying off the shelves, packaged things, still read the label. Don't
Sure.
assume because it's in a co-op, oh, this is going to be organic or this is going to be whatever. You still have to read the labels, but that's, I think, an important thing. Our customers tend to be people who want to be informed and are willing to take that time to read the label.
But like we try all the meats, nitrate-free meats,
Right.
hormone-free, et cetera. So it's all meant to be much higher quality foods, much purer
Yeah,
foods.
and processed, often in the old-fashioned
Yes,
way.
minimally processed.
Right.
But yet, the decision was made early on that meat would be offered. I know there are some co-ops that choose to be meat-free.
Right. Right.
I know a lot of people, my friends even in California, who sometimes eating local meat becomes a starting point for eating.
Right.
Most of the world eats a mostly vegetarian, grain-based diet.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, that's just the absolute fact. And I found for myself, I occasionally have meat, if we're going to get into this.
Sure.
But I eat more and more, that's occasional. I've learned to
Right.
appreciate tofu and tempeh and learn what to do with them. And so, but here's the thing, when it's really, really good quality, you don't need a lot.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
That's
don't
true.
need very much to
Exactly.
feel satisfied. And again, for some people, if you don't want meat,
That's fine.
that's your
You
choice.
don't have to
That's
buy it.
absolutely, but it's there if you want it. But I find a lot of people, as they eat cleaner, as they eat purer, it becomes a little easier. Our bodies begin to say, "Hey, I don't want this thing anymore. I don't want to pick up the sugary thing. I don't want this fatty thing. No."
Yeah.
And so it's for some people it's a real process and an evolution. But again, we all have to start where we start.
And one part of the local meat aspect is that many of the local farmers, you can visit their farms.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so people who don't eat meat because they want their life to be relatively cruelty-free, sometimes will eat some meat if they know that it's not a horrible factory condition
Right,
that,
right.
that these animals are growing up in.
In other words,
It makes a difference also in what the meat tastes like.
It does.
I'll never forget the first time I had what's labeled free range, but as the farmer said, petted by the hands of 1,000 children. The pigs lived a very, very happy life, and the lambs lived a very happy life, you know?
Yeah, probably all the metabolic processes of the animal are different.
Of course.
Well, the second half of this show, I want to tell people, is going to be a cooking demonstration, and we're about a few minutes from the break, but I just wanted you to talk a little bit about upcoming events before we take a break and do cooking.
well, that's really what we're here for in a way.
Yes, it is.
Fiddleheads is celebrating its 4th anniversary this Saturday, February 4th, all day, 9:30 to, we're open 9 to 6:30.
Yep.
We have
And we have
maybe
There's flyers all over.
We have flyers all over town. We have a full schedule of live musical acts all day, starting at 9:15. Kay Perry, I'm probably bungling that name. Hugh Birdsall at 11:15. Pat Dodona, a whole schedule. of
Birthday cake
people.
at,
Birthday cake about 1:30. We're having local businesses and some of our members volunteer. They're volunteering. They're bringing cakes. We're going to have raffles. That was a
There's
big
always
hit a year ago.
at least
Prizes.
one gluten-free
Yep,
cake too.
absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Prizes, samples. I know last year was a big deal. I think this year's going to be even bigger, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Not to mention, all food in the store is 10% off for everybody who comes.
That's right.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's right.
Yeah, everything in the store.
I'm there every Saturday
Anyway, but, well,
But it's nice to know.
yeah.
Well, I think we're going to take our break. It'll be about 5 to 6 minutes, and then when we come back, we're going to have a hands-on component that should be kind of fun.
Great.
So we'll talk to you then.
That went really well.
Every single song is like a poem, you know.
That's right.
It's like words. No matter where I roam, well, we know every single soul is a poem. It's written on the back of God's hand. No matter where I roam, well, we know every single soul is a poem. It's written on the back of God's hand. You see moms and pops be copulating, planting seeds and picking weeds for another season. Another reason for living, another reason for giving, another reason for loving and trying to stay out of prison. Cause everything in life can't be nice, and everything you want can't be got. But the lessons on being patient be causing the pressure to rise and make some people suicidal. Oh no, another soul is lost control. You pull him back into the fold. He got strung out on the material, all the superficial initials upon his clothes. They make me wanna go spree. Well, every time I see my family locked in jail, the economic can be demonical. Oh, keep loving your soul, no matter where I roam. Well, we know every single soul is a poem. It's written on the back of God's hand. No matter where I roam. Well, we know every single soul is a poem. It's written on the back of God's hand. You see, people are so beautiful in love. That's why I'm reminded of life's precious moments every time I see lovers walking by in the park. Close my eyes and I stop reminisce. See a little baby sucking on his mama's milk. The silky smoothness of a loving caress, holding baby to breast, and blessing the world with another to test. Oh yes, bang bang. I like to sing a little song dedicated to the people who would like to sing along. Cause every little song is little beats and notes, like every little lake is little trees and boats. All people deserve a safe and warm home, cause every single soul is a poem. No matter where I roam, well, we know every single soul is a poem. It's written on the back of God's hand. No matter where I roam, well, we know every single soul is a poem. It's written on the back of God's hand. I want to show you something beautiful. It's lovely, it's lovely. Ha ha. It's lovely, yeah. Right from the start, in a world torn apart, a baby's love leaves fingerprints upon the heart. So many thinking, but never saying. Why bring a child to this planet full of hatred? They might not make it like the youngest departed. Or worst of all, they might become a part of it, involved in it, perpetuating violence, and growing up in silence. Seeing things they don't know how to deal with, and learning ways to try to cope with it. But not lose hope no matter where I roam. Well, we know every single soul is a poem. It's written on the back of God's hand. No matter where I roam. Well, we know every single soul is a poem. It's written on the back of God's hand. No matter where I roam. Well, I know every single soul is a poem. It's written on the back of God's hand. No matter where I roam. Whoa, I know every single soul is a poem. It's written on the back of God's hand. Come on, y'all. Ha-ha.
Can you feel that?
Yeah. Sounds good, y'all.
Hell yeah.
It's lovely, it's lovely. I'm starting to feel something here, y'all.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm starting to feel something.
What you feeling?
I want to show you something.
What you feeling?
I want to show you something.
Show me something.
It's lovely, it's lovely. Come on, y'all. It's lovely, y'all. So no matter where I roam, y'all. Whoa. Every single soul is a poem. It's written on the back of God's hand. So no matter where I roam, show you something beautiful.
Everything's beautiful. Everything's beautiful. Everything's beautiful. Everything.
Welcome back to Thinking Green. I'm here with Mark Roberts and Janice Janostak, and we're going to do something we've never done here before, and this is a cooking demonstration. And honestly, if you come into Fiddleheads on Saturdays, you do see something like this, because Janice is always handing out samples. So we're going to see some of the foods firsthand that you can find at Fiddleheads, and Janice is going to tell us how she uses them.
Okay.
So it's all yours.
Ronna, thank you. Am I talking to the camera or am I talking to you?
Not to, well, I guess to the camera for this.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. I wanted to start out with a couple of dishes. I wanted to start with something vegan because, as I said, a lot of my cooking at home is vegan, and I know there's some myths among some people. Well, you know, if it doesn't have meat, it doesn't taste good, or it's difficult to do. And it's not. If you know how to cook, you know how to cook. And I think it's gotten even simpler. And of course, at Fiddleheads, we have all sorts of vegetables. We have gluten-free. So I'm going to do something very, very simple. I'm sure, one could do onion tart Angleterre or something fancy. But simple. This is simple. Now, this is basically just a little olive oil from the bulk section. And I know it's a non-stick pan, but I find it always helps to have a little bit of oil in there.
That's non-prescription olive oil?
Yeah, extra virgin olive oil from Crete. I like, if you're going to get olive oil, try to get it from a single source and not the ones that are mixed from 50 different countries. Now, we have one of my favorite things in the whole world, actually a couple of my favorite things, portobello mushrooms and red onion. Now, I went ahead, for time constraints, and pre-cooked them just a little bit, just to start to get them tender. We have different kinds of mushrooms, like 3 or 4 different mushrooms at Fiddleheads, and it's one of my favorite things to add into vegan meals. I've put them, you can do anything with a portobello. You can cover it with things, you can just put salt, pepper, olive oil, and roast it whole. So what we're doing right now is we're just getting things tender. We're not wanting to burn it. The onions have started to get a little soft. We're just wanting to get tenderness here. We're not wanting everything to get crisped. And to that, we're going to add, let's see, we're going to add a little olive oil. Let's see. Pinch of salt and pepper. Thank you, sir. Mm-hmm. I like a blend of, in this case I'm using a blend of kosher salt and sea salt.
Your bag is invading your...
Oh, goodness gracious, thank you. It's like the early days of TV.
Right.
All right, exactly. Now.
Well, we've been talking about the retro charm of the whole model. We're just sort of bringing that into the show.
If this was black and white, then that would be really... Okay, but then you couldn't see how these things look. Now, Lately at Fiddleheads, the last few months, we've been getting shiitake mushrooms from New England Greens. It's a farm in Tolland, Connecticut. And we can carry these. When we used to get them from our big supplier, we had to sell them for like $16.99 a pound. We can get these and we can offer them at Fiddleheads for $12.50. They are, I don't know if you can see, they're lovely. And they're very white and they're delightful. And they're a lot more versatile than you would think. These caps seem very, very delicate, but you can put them in soups, you can put them in stews. Now this sort of thing, I'm going to put the caps in here. The stem you're going to put to the side and you're going to save that for use in your stock, your broth, etc. These never get particularly edible, but they add great flavor when they're simmered for a long time. So we're just going to do that. And I like a blend of mushrooms, different kinds of mushrooms. The shiitake are surprisingly meaty. We're all kind of familiar with the portobello, but the shiitake have just this wonderful texture to them. So we're just going to do some of that. And we've got some white button mushrooms, or actually these are the crimini, which are baby bellas, and I like the solidity of these. So we're doing that. And we're going to add a little bit of garlic and olive oil.
And I know that people watching don't know, but it's starting to smell really good
Yeah,
here.
And let's see. Put that lid on. It's actually just a little bit more of the extra virgin olive oil. Now this is just because of my taste. That's something I like. You could do this with broth, you could do this with water, you could steam it lightly. This is the sort of thing that you can stick it in the oven, you can put it under a broiler, whatever. I'm going to turn that down a little. See, it's getting, I don't know, Bob, you probably can't see, but it's getting a nice golden color. I don't know if I should try to do that sort of thing. There we go. It's getting there. It's quite close. Now, let's see, it's probably enough of those. The other thing I have, and I've pre-cut everything, we have some of these zucchini, little ones. I just adore them at Fiddleheads, and for whatever reason, I'm not as crazy about the yellow squash, probably because I've grown them and have nightmares about them, but these have been very small. We've been getting them, they're very small, they're tender, there's not much in the way of seeds, so you're getting a lot of the meat to them. And we're going to put those in there. You could really put anything you wanted in here. You could put, we have fennel, fresh fennel at Fiddleheads now. You could put in fennel, you could put in celery. I think one of the only things, I wouldn't do carrots with this. There's just something, I do carrots in almost everything. There's just something about this that requires, to me, a certain delicacy. All right, so up a little bit more, thank you. Now what I'm going to do at this point, I made a sauce. You certainly don't have to do a sauce. Again, this is my taste. It's olive oil, it's turmeric from the bulk department, also cumin and coriander, also from the bulk department, the bulk spices. And I'll be putting the recipe for this on the blog tomorrow. If I told you that I remember everything, even though I wrote it down, that I remember exactly what's in here, I'd be lying. I'd be lying, let's be honest. So we're just going to spoon a bit of that in. The turmeric gives it a nice color. And there's a bit of soy sauce in here, there's a bit of maple syrup in it, so you've got kind of a balance of, a little bite, a little brightness of the vinegar. And the other thing that I have in here is the juice of 3 Satsuma mandarins. It was all mixed up at home, so how's that smell, guys?
Smells really good.
Bob, do you want to see it again? There we go.
Wait, no.
Okay,
Give me a
now.
chance to get the camera.
Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. Now we have one more little thing to add, and this is one of my favorite parts. I prefer to do red bell peppers. We didn't have any at Fiddleheads today, but we have yellow and a bit of green.
Sure.
One of my favorite things. Now these we are not going to, they're going to add color and they're going to add crunch. The thing you don't want to do with bell pepper is overcook it. And boy, is that easy to do. It's very easy to get away from it. So, again, normally I would put red. We will have some red peppers at the store tomorrow, by the way. We get in produce delivery orders from our main supplier on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We get local items, mostly Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then the shiitake mushroom caps from New England Greens we get delivered on Fridays. Now, let's see, what do we want?
So we're actually looking at
throw in-
Saturday deliveries now because the weekends has gotten so big with
Yes.
Sunday opening and everything.
Exactly. And that's not including the deliveries we get from Associated and UNFI, which is the big order on Wednesdays. So if you don't want to commit a lot of time to the Fiddleheads, but you'd like to come and help out for a couple of hours, Wednesdays we can always use people to help stock the shelves. You know, maybe doing the price gun on yogurt is your thing. You know, there's a lot of ways to be able to help out at the store.
Now, while you're cooking, maybe someone should tell people what the hours are.
Fiddleheads is open 9 to 6:30, 6 days a week, and Sundays 10 to 5, is it?
So that's also a big part of the growth.
Oh, wait,
because-
Sunday it's 10 to 4.
10 to 4?
10 to 4, yeah.
So 7 days a week?
Right,
Yep.
and
We just went to Sundays a month or so ago,
in November, I think, yeah.
and it's been very successful. I mean, it's as strong as any other day of the week. And we originally were anticipating opening Sundays might
Turn
just
that
take
down a little bit.
weekday sales and move them into Sunday. But it
Mark, will
hasn't.
you test that for me? Tell me what you think. Needs more sauce?
A little bit more.
A little bit more, okay. Okay. Just a little bit more. I don't want to have it in the cooker much longer, though, because it's going to become overdone. Ronna, I'm going to. Do you like zucchini?
Yes.
There you go.
I used to not because we grew it and I got tired of it. But then,
Yeah.
but then I went a few years without eating
What do you
it.
think? Okay. I think
Fine
that's going to
again.
be
This
fine
is really
for
good.
this. Thank you. Now, what I have over here. Now, if you want to do a vegan meal, and this is something very simple you can do in a flash, not fancy. And then what I've got it accompanied with is quinoa. It took me a long time to learn to say that. If you go in the store, it looks like it's spelled quinoa. It's quinoa. And this is the tricolored quinoa. I took some of the white quinoa as well as the red and black from our bulk section. Very economical. I've just discovered this in the last year, and I'm absolutely in love with it. Unlike rice, it's not really a grain. It's actually the seed of a grass plant. And unlike rice, unlike oatmeal, unlike a lot of grains that feel heavy, that give me that kind of tired feeling, starch from the starch and sugar 2 hours later, I can eat this at 8 times a day and I feel fantastic. One of my favorite breakfasts, in fact, just this morning. Quinoa with a local farm-raised soft-boiled egg over it. And then some seaweed and sesame seeds. It's lovely.
A bit of trivia is the quinoa is kosher for Passover
Is it? Is it?
because it is not a grain.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I didn't know that.
Well, it's actually high in protein.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. So you've got...
It's not a carbohydrate-heavy
Exactly.
food.
Exactly. So here we are. We've got the mushrooms, we've got the peppers, and we've got this quinoa. So basically, you've got a complete protein. And quinoa, the other nice thing about quinoa is that it cooks up in, they say 10 to 15 minutes. I say 15. I can go downstairs. And somebody's hungry, they want something for breakfast, and boom, it's done. And like I said, unlike rice or other things, it has this lovely, light, satisfying quality where people who have trouble with heavy carbohydrates, they feel good. It's digestible. It's easily digestible.
Well, we have a phone call.
Oh, lovely. And we've got that on our letter.
Hi, thanks for calling Thinking Green.
Hey, Ronna, this is Dennis from New London.
Hi, Dennis.
I came in on this a little late, and I'm watching her now cook what I can't even begin to understand what it is. But my question is, the stuff you've been talking about cooking and all this, I'm diabetic, so is this all good stuff for diabetics?
Yes, I'm diabetic also. And I found it easiest to shop at Fiddleheads because they have a lot of foods that are very low glycemic index and they're great. In fact, I've been able to eliminate my medications by eating healthier.
It's fantastic.
So
I know
doctors
they
shop.
say you can do that by eating healthier, but
Yep.
I'm one of these old timers that if it doesn't taste good, I can't get myself to eat it. So.
Well, I'm there too.
Well,
I've
that's
avoided this stuff for
Samples.
years.
You know, I'm going to see you tomorrow at a meeting, so maybe I'll bring you some samples.
exactly.
All right.
How does that
sounds
sound?
good. I'll
Okay,
talk to you later.
it's a deal. Thanks for calling.
All right, bye.
Okay. Just going to wipe this a little bit. Ooh. Now, we've got our vegan dish. I would also like to cook something right now very quick because I get a lot of questions on Saturdays when I'm at the Formal River Farm booth. How do you cook a steak? And it was some gentleman by the name of Ennis who works for Nunzio who taught me how, because I was overcooking them, and most places on a website or whatever, they're geared towards cooking a steak if you're getting it from a grocery store. And if you've ever smelled meat from a grocery store, you realize, and then you smell a local grass-fed, you realize the stuff, or at least I realized the stuff I'd been buying for 20 years was already rancid. So that's what a lot of the instructions on cooking steaks is aimed at. So I was killing them, and I asked Ennis one day over at Formal River Farm, I said, how do you do that? He was making flank steak taste like sirloin. And he told me 3 minutes on one side, 3 minutes on the other, check it, another minute on each side if you need it, and then done.
Well, that's good because we only have about 5 minutes left.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Well, then we'll make this really quick. I'll turn up the heat a little bit. So for
Time
those of
flies.
you who are, okay, so for those of you who are vegan, this would be a very good time to go and take a snack break, finish your taxes, water the ficus, because I don't want to shock or traumatize anybody.
So this is not a vegetarian steak?
This is not a vegetarian steak, no. And I believe in, if you're going to eat vegan, don't go for the extruded soy hot dogs. Don't eat fake food. If you're going to eat tofu, which I like to do, appreciate it for what it is, for its own qualities, rather than trying to make it into something it's not. So, oh, okay. Okay, all the
Now that
vegans
all the vegans are
gone.
safe
Okay,
to
I
go.
don't want to hurt it. Okay, there we go. This is from 4 Mile River Farm. It's a sirloin. You can't, obviously you can't smell it, but if you could, it doesn't look pretty raw. Let's face it, flesh does not look pretty raw. Even I can admit that. It smells very, Mark, if you would, very quick. What does it smell like?
I don't know.
But it has, does it
Oh, no.
smell sour? Does it smell?
Oh, no.
Okay, exactly. Here's the thing, it's like fish. If fish smells like fish when you buy it at the store,
There's no marinade or something on that?
no.
Wow.
But what's going to happen? Okay, what we're going to do here, we are going to, Mark, would you open up the salt and pepper again for me? This is what Ennis taught me. Olive oil, salt, pepper, done. We're going to put a little garlic on it as well. I like to add garlic. I like to add, actually, I'm going to let you open that one now.
Yes.
My hands
Yes,
are,
your hands are slimy.
my hands are slippy. So it's
Except I
very,
haven't
very
figured
simple.
this out either. This is one of those, oh, there.
Childproof?
Childproof, yeah.
Childproof, yeah.
Okay. Probably overdoing the spices just a little bit here, but that's okay. I've yet to have anybody complain. And again, this is not something I do very often at home, but when I do, it's a real treat, and we really enjoy it. Now, what I'm doing here with this steak, 3 minutes on one, 3 minutes on the other, is good for sirloin, porterhouse T-bone strip. We're going to have that about, I've got it at almost 400.
So I don't know if the mics are picking up the sizzling sound.
I don't know.
We are.
I don't know. And we've got how many minutes? 3, okay.
So we'll see one
We'll
cooked
abbreviate
side.
this. Yes, we'll abbreviate it a little bit. Now, this technique that I learned is not quite. I haven't mastered ribeye or Delmonico, so you're not going to see me sampling those at the 4 Mile River Farm booth. But like again, this technique has been foolproof for sirloin, T-bone, strip, porterhouse, and it works under the broiler, it works on the grill, it works in this cooker, and let me tell you, during the summer, my favorite way to do it, obviously, is over the coals, over the hardwood that I've cut myself. That is something else. But again, you can get this at Fiddleheads. Nunzia, the 4 Mile River Farm products are available at the store all the time, as well as and samples on Saturday. But we've also got other vendors, local vendors. There's a farm in Stonington that now brings us pork chops and bacon, and they're over on the freezer section. So pretty much anything you would want, but it's clean, it's fresh, it's local, and that makes such a difference. When I first smelled Nunzio's meat raw, and it smelled sweet, I have not eaten any other meat but his in the last year, because that just makes such the difference, and you don't need much when it's so good. Okay, now we're almost there with it.
Good.
Bob, should I?
Sure, lift it up so.
Now, I'm going to be entirely honest. In reality, it might not be. What you would do, or what we would do if we had time, is we would put it on a plate, cover it, let it rest 5 minutes. And I will also be honest, I'm one of those people who, when a steak is this good, almost raw. Yes. Yeah. Yes, and you can do that. Now, for instance, that's very rare. I think that's almost into raw territory. Yeah. Something I did this summer, I had guests over. I got a 1.5 pound sirloin from 4 Mile River Farm, and it was myself and 3 other people. I cut it into 4 pieces to grill it, rather than trying to do this big steak that gets cooked on the edges but never in the inside. Sometimes it's a lot easier just to put it into smaller pieces. So again, you can find Nunzio's meat every Saturday, along with the red peppers, and that's the peppers, the quinoa, the mushrooms, and I'm going to hand a little out. That's okay.
Yeah, as the closing credits roll.
That sounds like a good idea.
Maybe we should just remind people what the hours will be on Saturday and recommend that they come and visit.
Recommend that you come and visit, and don't forget to visit our website, www.fiddleheads, with an S, food.coop. We have news and events. We have every department has its own page. The hours Saturday are 9 to 6:30. We will have raffles, prizes, music. We will have cake. We will have about 1:30 or so. That's very, very important. We will have vendors. We will have the usual farmers market folks, and
really good.
And cake.
Yeah, the cake cutting was about 1 o'clock.
Yes.
Yeah, and for anyone who doesn't know Fiddleheads, I think the address is 13 Broad Street.
13 Broad Street. We are catty corner from the library and the Guard, across from the Guard Arts
Right, and
Theater.
across from the courthouse.
Yes.
It's a very major, busy intersection in New London. You can hardly miss it.
Yep, lots of parking.
So I think we're about out of time. So we'll finish cooking. Thank you,
So
Mark.
we'll enjoy dinner.
Yes, thank you, Janice.
You're welcome. Thank you,
I'm
Ronna.
thinking this might be a series. We'll see. We might all be back.
Sure.
Thanks for coming on, and it was fun. And
Thanks.
everyone come to Fiddleheads.
Thank you.
On Saturday and the rest of the week, too.
Ronna, thank you for having us.
Yeah. Next week, Ben Reyes will be on. We'll be talking about commercial hemp. So we'll see you next week.
So what do you think?